Did you know that the first Paralympic Games took place in the year 1960? And it was held in Rome. There were 8 sports that debuted there, one of them being wheelchair basketball. And I'll be talking about that sport today with my guest, Matt Scott.
Good to see you. Thank you so much for setting this up.
It's good to see you too. Thanks for saying yes.
Well, of course.
Where are you today?
I landed in Detroit, Michigan last night around 9 p.m. So I am visiting family. And then after this week, I'm going up to Grand Rapids where it's like an adaptive sports festival. So 18 and under, and I get a chance to go check them out.
Will there be basketball involved?
It is a track and field competition. So all of them are going to be doing like field events or track events, and they're going to be competing up in Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. But that is not home for you now anymore, right? Don't you live in California?
Yeah, I live in San Francisco, so that's where I came from yesterday. I was in San Francisco. Made this long flight. The travel is, traveling from the Midwest to the West Coast is just it's almost like flying. It's like from New York to LA. It's a really long flight.
It is. You get into the Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
But did you have a nonstop from San Francisco to Detroit?
No, I stopped in Dallas, and that that had us on the runway for a very long time. I think that's what made it so complicated. It was like pretty smooth to Dallas, and then once we got to Dallas, there was like a little bit of a delay, but made it, and I'm excited. I haven't been back to Michigan for a minute, so it's cool to come back, see fam, hang out with mom, and then get back to the grind.
I love it. Well, first, why don't you just introduce yourself? Let me know your first and last name, and if you could spell them for me, just so that we have it right.
My name is Matt Scott, MattsCott, and I go by Matt Scott Fly.
Matt Scott Fly. And do you have a middle name?
I do. My middle name is David. That was my father's name.
Okay. Do you know if that was his father's name too?
It was his father's name. So yeah, yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, he was a junior, and my middle name is his name.
I have a number of things I'd love to talk with you about today, and I do want to get into some family stuff too. But first things first, because I know how you normally start your day, and seeing your social media often impacts how I start my day. So, did you work out already?
I love that. I love that you led that way because honestly, my daily workouts have been a topic of discussion, and a lot of people ask me about them, and I'm really encouraged by that because that's the reason why I share them. I have not gotten my workout in today, but I definitely have it planned. The travel kind of manipulated my schedule a little bit. I like to be a morning workout person, but every single day I like to do some type of movement. I'm not always in the gym, lifting the entire house and, moving mountains. Sometimes it'll just be some simple cardio or, some active recovery or, bands or even smaller weights. But every single day I get to the gym and I prioritize myself, I prioritize my health, and then I share it with all of my friends and followers to hopefully, motivate some other people to prioritize themselves as well.
Yeah, and I think I've told you that more than once. Like there have been multiple times that I've looked at your Instagram, I guess, when I should be working out. And I'm thinking, man, just what you said, just do something. So how do you give yourself grace? How do you give yourself grace when you do put in these really big workouts on certain days, and then there are other days when you just don't want to, or maybe environmentally it's more difficult. Like maybe today you're at your mom's. I don't know what kind of workout equipment you have there, and do you go equipment free? So how do you factor that in when you maybe can't give 100%?
It's a great question. So I think that whatever your 100% is that day is the 100%, right? So life's always going to come at you. It could be mental things, it could be physical, it could be environmental. Lots of things can impact what your 100% looks like. But if you are giving that 100% effort, I think that counts for something. I always set my expectations in my head, and I know exactly what I'm going to be able to accomplish. So, for example, I know I was coming to my mom's. I know exactly which gym I'm going to go to, and I do my research ahead of time. I feel like people do that for the wrong reasons. Sometimes they should be able to do it for the right reasons. If you're looking ahead and seeing like, oh, what pizza am I going to order from this restaurant? You should be able to look and see, what what gyms are in the area, or if you're looking for what clubs or bars are around, you should be able to look to see what fitness facilities are there. So I do my research ahead of time. I know exactly what to expect, and I go right into it.
I think you just spoke into several people's souls just there. I mean, if we can look up the pizza place, why can't we look up the gym? Ouch. Noted. You gave me a flashback though. We met when we worked together in Paris for the Olympics there.
That's right.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you identify a gym, not in our hotel, but you found an offsite gym that you went to work out at? Did you?
I did. I absolutely did. And it was amazing. You know what? That was a mountain to climb literally to get there. So I literally had to carry my chair down the stairs and up the stairs to get in, which was kind of a nightmare, but motivation. Motivation. Once you set your mind to get in somewhere, you figure it out and you make it happen.
Well, I do want to get to accessibility a little bit later. Um, and it came to mind when you were talking about traveling. So maybe we can cover that in a short bit if you want to.
That's right.
Um, First things I would love to talk to you about is you have got something in the works at the moment that is pretty cool and unique. For anyone who doesn't know you, you are a five-time Paralympian and you've got medals to match. You can tell us about that. But what you are planning right now is a 10-year reunion with your 10 years ago team, correct?
That's right. Let me take my glasses off for this one because I'm going to get excited. They might fall off. So back in 2016, we won our first gold medal for Team USA, and that was the first gold medal in 28 years. So there was a drought of medals for quite some time, and then we hadn't been on the gold medal stand since 1988. So I was a part of that team in 2016 that got us to the promised land. It was super exciting, but more so than the accolade and the accomplishment that we reached, those are my brothers. And that team was so close. And still to this day, one of my teammates just got married last year. And I was definitely there at his wedding. Some of our teammates are, having new babies, and we're sharing pictures, and still a close knit group, even 10 years, removed, which is pretty cool. I didn't want a 10-year milestone to pass without it being commemorated somehow. And I just felt like the time was going and there was nothing going to be done. And that would just be so sad. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get myself into high gear. I'm going to plan something. So I reached out to, the other leaders of the team and I said, hey, listen, we need to have a 10-year reunion. One string or one thread that connects us all right now is that we're all giving back to the next generation somehow. I have an organization called Fly Without Limits where we pour into the next generation. We have some guys that are coaching either individually or team. We have people running for Senate. We have some incredible leaders but we're all giving back to the next generation. So the thing that stuck out to me is like how can we commemorate it? Let's give back to the next generation. So we're going to the home of the next games, LA, and we're gonna host a skills and development clinic for the next generation of Paralympians. I cannot tell you how excited I am for that. To be able to pass the torch to the next gen means everything to me. To be able to be in this position with my brothers means everything to me. And I've been planning this ever since.
Well, you lit up when you started talking about this.
Stephanie, I'm so excited for it. Honestly, um, I know what wheelchair basketball did for me. I know what representing the Team USA did for me. I know what being a Paralympian did for me. And I want to help instill those same principles and those same values and those same skills and tricks and all that. I want to pass that game on to the next gen and see how it's going to light them up. because they're ultimately going to get that path even further than we were.
Right. You've made the path. You've made the path, and now they get to continue that. I think it's really cool too for two reasons. Number one, you are pouring into the next generation. But number two, you're taking a moment to celebrate something. I think a lot of times we are so quick to whip past the good things that occur in our lives, even on a daily basis, even on a micro basis. We don't take time to celebrate the wins or the joys or the sparkles or the glimmers, but you're really doing it, and you're doing it in a super connective, inclusive, community-based way.
I love it. I'm so, you know what, there's a lot of different components to it as well. We're going to film a bit of it like a short film as well. So we'll obviously capture the clinic. So I'll share that with you
Good.
as well. But we're also going to get different interviews, the coaches as well, because the entire team's getting together. It's not just the players. It's like the coaches are coming together as well to be a part of this. Yeah. So every even our medical staff, like we have everybody that was a part of that golden moment is going to be a part of this, and we're going to get all kinds of candid, content and dialogue between each other. And we'll probably supplement that with some footage and some BTS stuff. And our hope is to put together a really short film about it. That I'm extremely excited about that as well.
Very cool. And that's happening when? When is that happening?
Yes, so September 26th is the clinic. It will be in Los Angeles. I'm so excited for that. And that entire weekend, we're going to be sort of filming that reunion. So everybody will be seeing all the guys get back together for the first time. We all haven't been in the same room since we won that gold medal, like not
No
at the same
kidding.
time. But we all see each other like very often. Like we cross paths, we stay in contact. But all 12 of us plus coaching staff, yeah, we have not been in the same room since.
This is super special. And I think you're going to start something with this, because I haven't heard of other, maybe quietly other teams have done this type of thing in the past, but I've never heard about it. Have you ever
No,
heard of
me
that?
neither. And I do. I'm happy that you said that. I hope that this continues to be. I hope that the next team also puts together commemorative moments, and we do celebrate these milestones, because you're right. They come and go, and they they need to be talked about. They need to be celebrated, and that group was so special, and I can't wait to celebrate with them.
Another thing that I think is really special about this is that you are continuing to cultivate the relationships that you have with that set of people, which could easily just kind of trail off if you guys did not put energy into that. I was talking to somebody the other day who had been in a sorority in college, but she wasn't very involved in it, she said. And she now sees that her daughter is in a sorority, and the community and connections she's building with the other people in it. And she said, when I see that a generation later, I so wish I had been involved, because you're building a community and you don't even realize how important that community is in that time. And
I totally
I would
agree.
imagine, because of the fun of playing ball and the thrill of it, it'd be really easy to do that and not realize quite how special your connection is with this set of people, the players, the coaches, the medical staff, all of the people who made that happen. So
Mm,
you're pouring into that too. So it's like building your own futures up.
I totally agree, and I just think that some connections are worth that extra mile, and some connections are worth pouring into. And I know together we are able to do something really tremendous. But even personally, like all those guys meant so much to me. So I'm so excited for this.
In hindsight, what would you say you learned about yourself from being a player, a teammate, and a leader on your team? What would you say you learned about yourself?
When I look at my Paralympic journey, for example, I started in 2004, went home empty-handed, returned in 2008 in Beijing with a new mindset, um, better basketball player, as a team, we hadn't figured it out, went home empty handed again. 2012, we came back with what I like to call rose gold. And then in 2016, we're able to finally reach that mountaintop, repeating that again in Tokyo 2020, to really kind of stamp that, that's who we are. I think what I learned about myself throughout that entire journey is that everything isn't just going to be these golden moments. And the times that you're most defined is when it's not so golden. What do you do when you're not celebrating with the gold around your neck and cutting down nets? Who are you, and what does that do? Does that make you separate and get divisive, or does that make you come together to ultimately do great things? I, I think we chose the latter as a team, to, okay, let's get inside ourselves. Let's figure out what is the secret sauce to becoming a team. And we did that. We got closer. I think that has had profound impact in my life as well. So if ever I'm having a not so shining moment, whenever I'm experiencing tough times, I'm doing my best not to divide myself or push myself away. Or I think when I was younger, I had a tendency to isolate and be like, you know what, I got this on my own. But that's just not the way that sports works, and that's not the way life works as well. So the thing that I've learned about myself and my teammates on the court and my teammates in life, is that we're stronger together, and collaboration is really what gets you to the promised land.
That is something that I aim to sort of underscore in these conversations, the importance of community and the importance of connection. And I don't think you could have said that better.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's really, I have teammates who have been on Team USA since 2016, and they won a gold medal. And Team USA has won a gold medal every game since then. So their experience has been wildly different than mine. And it's interesting to have those conversations with them about, what it was like to, we had a mountain to climb, and what it was like to kind of claw our way through. And now they have a different battle. It's like they have a bigger target on their backs. Different experiences, but ultimately the same fight.
Let's talk about Fly Without Limits. Can I read what your mission statement is? I have it.
Of course.
Hold, please. Did you write this mission statement, by the way?
By hand, and I definitely did it in pencil because I kept going back and forth until it was exactly right, until I felt amazing about it.
So you wrote the following words that I get to read.
That's right.
This is your Fly Without Limits mission. We are unwavering in our belief that everyone deserves to pursue a life of fulfillment, regardless of their physical abilities. We are deeply committed to breaking down the barriers that prevent people with disabilities from achieving their goals and dreams. We strive to provide resources, information, and opportunities to help people with permanent physical disabilities reach their full potential.
Boom, boom. And then as you're saying that, I'm like fighting off the goosebumps a little bit, because 3 years in, I feel that we are achieving that. And that feels damn good. That feels so good to be moving in the right direction and actually getting after the goals that we set out to reach. Fly Without Limits has quickly become my biggest priority, and it's something that, so basketball was my life. Sport was my life, and to be able to step away from that effectively was like it was like losing a friend a bit. It's hard to step away from sport. Whereas Fly Without Limits has been something that I've been able to pour into. It's something that is a reflection of me and my experiences, but ultimately to shine a brighter light for other people who are having similar experiences to me. So I'm really, really proud of Fly Without Limits.
And it's described as a global social impact foundation,
That's right.
right? And I have I've seen posts of yours. You've been in Rwanda. If I remember right, you've gifted really custom wheelchairs. You're creating moments, but you're giving people momentum for a better future through what you do. Can you talk about what you did in Rwanda?
Right. So you're right. What we are is we're a global social impact organization, and we are disability empowerment full stop. So I like to say that there are certain, I guess, pillars or areas of focus that we like to lean into. Yeah, well, first, adaptive sports, leadership development, employment, and education. So those things are the things that we really like to focus on the most. Providing resources is one of the things that I'm super proud of because I was an underfunded kid. I didn't, have the right resources until, to a certain point, and I know how important one donation can be, because that one donation can be the difference between someone being a Paralympian and not. So it's really important to me. In Rwanda, our last trip, we were hosting wheelchair basketball clinics and showing people the skills, make sure that their adaptive sports community is growing. We also bring adaptive sports equipment, which is really nice. Seeing people get into their chair for the first time and understanding that they really can fly, like they really can uh, go after the things that they've been dreaming of. When I get to countries like that, for example, when I went to Senegal and we brought some equipment there. This wasn't adaptive sports equipment. This was just like a daily wheelchair, because we also like to make sure that people feel confident and supported off the court as well. Just being able to engage and interact with them, and they say like, oh, we saw you on TV or we saw you on the internet, and like they recognize me from being a Paralympian, and that now I'm there hanging out with them and sharing time with them. I think that just, I don't know, it's such a good feeling. I love that. We've also last year we brought a young man over from Europe to do one of our clinics, because we wanted to have more of a global reach. So he came over from Switzerland, and we taught him all the skills and tricks that we possibly can, and sent him back to his to Switzerland to play in his leagues. We host a event every year called the DK3. This is a 3-on-3 wheelchair basketball tournament that's hosted on the same court that they shot White Man Can't Jump, the Venice Beach iconic courts. So much
Okay.
fun. Yeah, this is I always tell people it's the sexiest wheelchair basketball tournament you ever see. Like it's like there's this amazing, the backdrop is Venice Beach. It's 3-on-3 blacktop. Um it's really beautiful, and I really love it. I'm super proud of it. And then another thing that we do is called Taking Flight, which is a storytelling initiative. This is where we find someone in our community that's experiencing a barrier, and we reach out to them, figure out what that barrier is, and we remove that barrier. So if it's equipment, we make sure they get that equipment. If they have uh, accessibility issues to get into their home, we're going to find a contractor to come in there and make sure that that's taken care of. And then we document that, just not only to tell our story, but also to let people know that are going through similar things that they're not alone. Yeah, right now we have three programs that we do year round. Taking Flight is the storytelling. Camp for Champs is our pouring into the next generation, and then the DK3, which is our event based 3-on-3.
Congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate
I
it.
mean, I don't know how you keep it all scheduled.
It's tough. You know what? Doing mission driven work, you always have to find time for it. It's this thing that lights me up the most. So no matter whatever it is I'm doing professionally, I'm always going to find time for Fly Without Limits because it really lights me up the most. It keeps me motivated. And I've got a community to not only represent, but, you know, provide resources for and opportunities to. And that really is my why. If this organization existed when I was a kid, I would have had a much cooler childhood. I created Fly Without Limits for that kid, for the kid that I was. Yeah, I wanted something to feel fully confident. I wanted to do like the wheelchair experience, the lived experience in a wheelchair. I wanted it to appear cool, and I wanted to know what was out there for me, not the limitations that existed. I feel like as a kid, I was always reminded how limited I was as a person with a disability. I was always reminded that I can't do this, or this is just disability was framed for me in a negative light, and I never want the next generation of children with disabilities to experience that. I want them to feel like they can literally fly. And for me, that's an acronym for fully living you. And I'm just whenever I, encounter a new kid, or, even an adult with a disability, I want them to, see what we do and be like, you know what, that's really cool. And I want to be a part of that.
Fly, FLY, fully living you.
That's right.
Ah, love it. Well, you talked about being a kid, and I actually wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. You said you grew up in Detroit,
That's right.
and what was your home life? What's your family life like?
Yeah. You know what? It's turning 41 this year has been it's you kind of go back on these long memory lane journeys, right? But being back home right now just kind of gives me those memories. But I was always a kid that love sport. I grew up in Detroit during the 90s, and that's when the Bad Boy Pistons era, right? So you could not be a basketball fan. That's just it's impossible to be when your small market NBA team is the NBA champs. It's impossible not to be a fan. But when I turned on the TV and I saw Isaiah Thomas and the Detroit Pistons cutting down the nets and celebrating with their teammates, it's exactly what I wanted. I wanted that. When I went to a street ball court, or I would see a basketball court somewhere in the city, when you won a game, it meant honor. It meant like everybody was celebrating you. It meant that, the camaraderie, everybody was shaking hands and giving hugs. And I'm like, yeah, this is great. I love this. How can I be a part of this? And I never once for a second thought, because I was in a wheelchair, that I couldn't be. So had my basketball, and I would literally take that everywhere I went. And I was a little bit too intimidated to go out on the court, but I would just like dribble around. Like I would go around the neighborhood and I would just dribble. And I had some handles. I would work on it. Like I wasn't just like bouncing the ball. Like I was studying how to have a crossover and all of that. So um I think I went quickly from, oh hey, there's that kid in the wheelchair, to, oh, there's that kid with the basketball. So it very quickly became my identity. And as I would dribble around on the courts, sometimes they need an extra guy, and they're like, "Hey, we only have 7. Hey, you got that basketball? Come on over here." And I was included right away. I don't know if that's a thing that happens. I don't know if most kids are inclusive like that, but I was fortunate enough to grow up around kids that never excluded me. They didn't care if they needed somebody else to play football. They were coming to knock on my door. If they needed somebody else to play basketball, they were coming to knock on my door. So I quickly just became one of the guys. That's how I fell in love with sports, and yeah, just kind of took off from there.
So those people who said, "Hey, we're one short, come on in here," they saw you used a wheelchair, and they themselves did not use a wheelchair.
That's right. And they couldn't have cared less. They were just like, you know what? Like we need another one. You're on his team. Let's go. And I feel like they would see me from time to time. I would show that I was, that I knew what I was doing. But they didn't quite see what I could do. And they really pushed me to my brink, because obviously having to, guard someone that doesn't have a disability, or try to get up a shot over someone that can fully jump, that really pushed me to be creative. It really pushed me to be a different kind of athlete. But they never really took it easy on me. If they were going to block me, they were blocking me over the fence. If they could steal the ball from me, they would take the ball from me. And I was the same. I was such a little smack talker. Like if I steal the ball from somebody, they were gonna hear about it. If I hit that bucket, I was gonna tell them about it. It was just part of the culture, and I think that really played well into my wheelchair basketball days because once I started playing at 14, it only took me 4 years to make the national team.
4 years. So, and that hoop height for wheelchair basketball and non-wheelchair basketball are both 10 feet, right?
That's right. So we have the same lines, the same ball, the same court, same venues. The only rules that you would see differently are the dribbling rule and the traveling rule. So we can double dribble. Like after we pick up our dribble, we can look, check it out, and we can continue our dribble again. And instead of two steps, like a able-bodied athlete, or I should say non-disabled athlete, um, we get two pushes. So two pushes on your chair instead of two steps.
Okay, two pushes on the chair.
Right.
If you do three, you
That's traveling.
traveled. Okay,
That's right.
so you have always used a wheelchair. You used a wheelchair from birth.
That's right. Yep.
Do you want to tell a
Um,
little bit about your personal background and
yeah, of
upbringing?
course. So I was born with a congenital birth defect called spina bifida, and right now it is the number one neuromuscular birth defect in the world. Like it's the most common. People that are listening may have heard of it. Spina bifida. I was, in a wheelchair at a very young age, and didn't really discover wheelchair basketball or adaptive sports at all until I was about 13 or 14.
Okay, and then at home, was it mom, dad, brother, sister? Like how many people were at home and how were you supported as you came up and found sports?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, one of my first basketballs was given to me by my father, and rest in peace. My father is he passed away in 2020.
I'm sorry.
And then of an incredibly supportive mother as well. They split when I was younger, but that never. I would say that kind of leaned into my motivation for sport as well. I think that as a kid, sometimes you just look for things to, um, whether it be video games or hanging out with friends or sports, just things to,
Outlet.
yeah, just outlets and just things to, concentrate on, to focus on. And I think that sports was always one of mine, and even into my adult years.
And did your family have an interest in your sports? Were they able to come watch you? Was there anything organized that they could see you do other than the pickup game?
When I did finally get involved in adaptive sports and playing wheelchair basketball for an organized team, it's not like you play your games on the weekend and it's always in the same venue and you just always have these home games. It's more of like a traveling league. So, I'm playing for a team here in Michigan, and we'd probably have 3 tournaments per year or 4 tournaments per year. And one of those tournaments would be in Illinois. Another of those tournaments might be in Kansas, and then we go to nationals in wherever that might be held. So we didn't have a lot of in your backyard style like tournament. So it wasn't like a thing where I was able to fill the seats with cousins and friends and family. Um, it was really challenging to get a chance to come see my games. Things like practices and scrimmages, those were easy, for family to kind of attend. But a lot of times I was traveling, with my team, and I was playing really far away.
So you started traveling really young.
Yeah, my first international tournament was in Brazil. I was 16 years old in 2001. Yeah, that was my first international trip. I made the under 23 national team, which was crazy for me because I just gotten started. I got my first basketball chair when I was about 15, and I made my first like under 23 team like 6 months later. This was mind blowing because I'd been out of the country in terms of like Canada, but I live in Michigan, so Canada is like across the street,
It's
right?
Windsor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you go across
it's
the
literally
Ambassador Bridge and you're there.
that's right. You could see Canada, but to have gone over to Brazil, like that was. that was wild. And no, my family wasn't able to join me on those international trips. We didn't have the socioeconomic background to be able to travel internationally and things like that. So even getting me there was a pretty big hill to climb.
Did you always have a wheelchair that you needed? Was it difficult to get that? And I'm just thinking, there are probably a lot of people in the world who need a wheelchair and don't have access to one.
That's a great question. So my first basketball chair was donated to me by the owner of the company. His name's Willie Hernandez. Still a very good friend of mine to this day, and I still use the same company that donated me that chair when I was 16. So I remember him coming to Michigan to play. It was like it was a men's team. So I played for a juniors team, and I was invited to play on the men's team later on. So there was a Michigan men's team that would travel around, and then there was like a smaller like junior team that was like high school and under. So the men's team reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're gonna have a scrimmage, and we have some people that are coming, like some Paralympians and stuff. We really want you to be there." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, I'm there." Like, so that I can't wait. But at the time, I didn't have a basketball chair. I was just playing in like a really rusty everyday chair. I lived in Michigan. The salt from the snow would always like rust out my chairs.
Sure.
I could play the game. Like there was nobody like stopping me, but my chair was so bad. And when I got there, I was like, all right, I'm here. I got my shirt, I got my shorts. I'm ready to go. I'm seeing people warming up, and I'm seeing people in chairs that I've never like, wow, like these were next level. And they were like, "Hey, are you ready? You ready to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm ready to go." They're like, "Where's your chair?" I'm like, "This is my chair." And the guy, Willie, he was like, "You're gonna play in that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I played one game in it, and they're going past me and things like that. They're at a different level. They're grown men, and I don't have the equipment, but they could see very well that I was well above what I was doing. And he was like, "Hey, I have another chair in my truck." He's like, "Take my keys, go get this chair. I think it'll fit you." So I went out into the parking lot, this brand new yellow, I'll never forget it. It's like very low to the ground chair. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I grabbed it, I sat in it, it fit me perfectly. I'm not even like, and I'm strapping into it. That was the first time I ever like strapped into a basketball chair. And when you strap into these chairs, it's so, how can I say, it's so responsive to your movements. And it's like if I look this way too hard, I'm gonna be turning. It's very
Really?
responsive. Yeah. And I could really feel that this was something different. And so I played in it. I played super well. Like I'm not gonna lie, I dominated really. And when
And
it
who's
was
this
over,
teenager?
yeah, that's what they were saying. Like everybody was just blown away, especially by my speed in this chair because I was fast in my everyday chair. And then I got in this chair. I was the fastest one on the court.
You were
And
doing the equivalent of training at altitude
yeah,
by using your other chair, and all of a sudden
exactly.
you get this wheelchair basketball
And
chair.
they were all like really blown away. And when we got done, I hopped out of my chair, I transferred back into my day chair, and I brought it back over to him with this big smile on my face. And I said, "Hey, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to try out what this really is. This is really cool. I just want you to know how much I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me try this. And maybe we'll see you again later." And he was like, "Oh, no, 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 it's yours. Keep it."
Mhm.
It was just like, wait, what? Just so casually, so nonchalant, like as if it wasn't like the most life changing thing in the world for me, because it literally was. That donation was one of the most significant moments of my life. And for him, it was just like, he's just so generous and such a nice, kind person. And he also believed in me. And for someone to believe in me like that, it really just sort of shifted the way I approached everything.
Isn't it interesting? I think it's true when we're adults, but particularly when we're at a more impressionable age of our teen years, that when somebody gives us direction or shows belief, whether it's in your basketball ability or your writing ability or your violin playing ability, it can be that rocket launch.
I totally agree. It was definitely that rocket launch for me. And I couldn't believe that he was giving me this piece of equipment, I was like, this is mine. I couldn't even get over myself. And those next couple of years, once I had that chair, I was never off the court. Like I feel like I played basketball every single day. I was always, trying to play against someone, trying to challenge someone, trying to figure out what I could do differently in this chair. And honestly, that got me a lot of, like, people were just starting to say my name in rooms that I wasn't in. And I, suddenly got invited to the men's national team for a tryout. And I didn't even think I had a chance, but I made every single team since.
Wow. Every single team since.
Well, every single team until I retired. Yeah. So I made that first team in 2003. I was an 18-year-old kid in high school. They called my name for the national team. And I ever since that 2003 summer, I went to try out every year for a national team, and look, fortunate enough, I was able to hear my name called every time.
So your Paralympic experience began in Athens in 2004
That's right.
and stretched all the way to Tokyo 2021
That's right.
with the asterisk because it would have been 2020,
Yep.
but COVID.
Yep.
That's crazy long.
Well, I think we have a few five-time Paralympians, but I
Yeah,
think in span of years, um, I think I'm up there in terms of, yeah, years represented, especially consecutively.
right.
I think there's some
That's
people that sometimes they come in and they won't do like a world championships, or they won't do a qualifier. I did every qualifier, every practice, like I was Team USA for a very long time. And I proudly wore that.
I just plant a seed for you. You could still become a winter Paralympian.
That would be interesting.
If you did, what sport would you want? Just hypothetically,
I feel like
if you
riding
did.
this. I feel like riding a ski lift is a Paralympic sport in its own. Like I get so terrified. I skied for the first time, and it was after I retired. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna try some other stuff. Let me branch out because I've been so singularly focused for 20 years. Not even to compete. I just wanted to just check it out. So I went up to Breckenridge um, for this adaptive ski clinic. And when they put me on the ski lift, I was terrified. Like I was like frozen. It's like I'm dangling from this mountain. I was so terrified. So I'm gonna say kudos to all of the adaptive skiers, all of the Paralympic skiers on I'm trying to think of some, the Oksana Masters of the world, the Elena Nichols of the world. I give them so much respect because what they do is terrifying.
Yeah, I agree. I just thought I'd plant that seed for you and see if maybe. But
maybe
honestly,
maybe sled hockey. Sled hockey's cool.
oh, yeah. Did you have much hockey exposure growing up in Detroit?
What's funny is I don't know how good the Red Wings are right now, but when I grew up, the Red Wings were like top of the charts, and that's all people talked about. And I never watched any games, but I would play the video game. I loved playing the video game, like starting all these fights and stuff. Like I loved
Oh,
it.
right.
I
There's that
loved
joke. I went to a boxing match and a hockky game broke out or something like it's like the flip of right
But they
because
used
there's
to
so
call
much
Detroit
fighting.
Hockey Town. Like it was it's very well. First of all, we're really close to Canada.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't have much exposure to it, but I just think as an all around sports fan, I feel like I can. If you put me out there, I'll figure it out.
Hmm. I think that's also probably what those kids on the court way back when saw in you. Like, first of all, you kept showing up. You were
That's right.
excited. You knew what you were doing, and it was kind of like let me get in there. Somebody needs to not show up someday, and I'm going to get my chance to just start. You
That's
know,
right.
one thing I wanted to ask you about, which you alluded to earlier in the conversation, was travel. Um, I don't know how it is to travel in a wheelchair and with a wheelchair. Can you characterize that a little bit and talk about how that has or has not improved over time, particularly air travel?
Yeah, it's It's a tricky conversation, honestly. But I will say the more that I've traveled, the better that I've become at what my rights are and what I can do to make it a little bit easier for myself. I feel like I'm a lot more travel savvy. So being able to, pick the right seats. So I'm, closer to a restroom, to be able to, there's a law right now. It's in the ACAA, which is the aircraft, I forget it. It's the ACAA, but you can store your wheelchair in a wheelchair closet. And every plane that is 100 passengers or more has to have one of these closets. And it's a first come, first serve thing based on, and if your chair fits, you can put it in there. So every time I'm on like a longer flight, I store my chair on board. Not only does that give me peace of mind, like I can't roll around in the plane, but it gives me peace of mind that nobody's going to break my equipment. Nobody's going to lose my equipment. And just having it right there in plain sight is really, really amazing to me. So I always try to store my chair on board. Yeah, there we go.
The Air Carrier Access Act.
That's it. That's it.
Air Carrier Access Act, ACAA.
That's right. And I always I have something with me. It's even in my carry-on that just reminds them, just in case there's some pushback. Not a lot of flight attendants or people with the airline travel with people with disabilities that advocate for themselves. I know me personally, I used to just go with whatever they tell me. So I would get there and I would say, "Hey, can I put my chair in the closet?" And they'd say, "No, our bags go there." And then when I did my research on the ACAA, it's actually their bags are prohibited to be there. So they just get so used to doing it their way and they're following status quo. But when I remind them that you're literally breaking the rules, sometimes they get a little bit upset about that. Nobody likes to be told how to do their job. But I also feel that every flight that I get onto, I'm able to either educate someone that didn't understand, or I just open someone's eyes to a person with the disabilities travel experience, and that it's sometimes the way that they have it is not that comfortable for us. And like there's things that can be done.
And I would imagine just on a personal comfort level, just knowing your chair is right there and it's not being jostled or something's not being put on top of it that's going to compromise its integrity,
Yeah,
um, has got to be that alone has got to be a gigantic factor for having something like this be the norm.
that's right. It's also a big benefit as well. So if my chair goes under with all the cargo, that means when we land, obviously I have to wait for everyone else to get off, but then I have to wait for someone to go down there, get it, bring it up. It's just this really long, hassling experience. And if I have a layover, good night. Like I'm gonna miss my flight. But if I'm able to just put it in this closet, as soon as we land, everybody gets off, I put my chair together and I'm out of there. It just makes things so much easier.
When you state it, it just sounds so logical. Like,
Yeah,
why would
like
it not be? Why,
yes.
why would it, why would it not be right there?
You'd be surprised by how many times that I have to advocate though. And someone would be like, "Well, my bag goes there." And well, there's overhead bins that you can put it in. And like it literally just doesn't click to them that like this is my travel experience. Like this is my peace of mind. This is my
Right.
and your bag can just go somewhere else. Like sometimes it's
Yes.
a little bit troubling.
Can I ask a little bit personal question? And you don't have to
Yeah,
answer it if you want to.
of course.
Okay, let's say you're sitting in an airline seat on an airplane and you need to go to the bathroom. How does
That's a
that work?
that's a great question. These kind of questions are super important for people who might be afraid to catch a flight because of things like that, or um, open people's eyes that may not understand the travel experience of a person with a disability. As I said earlier, advocating for where you are on the plane is important, especially for me. I'll speak um, from my personal experiences. I like to advocate for where I am on the plane, so I don't have to, transfer super far. I usually do a bit of like a butt shuffle, or like I'll crawl to where
On the
my
floor.
yeah
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that isn't always the experience, sometimes they have a what do you call it, an aisle chair on board. But I will
Uh-huh.
say that sometimes that's few and far between. Like they sometimes, sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. I will say that in a perfect world, what would happen is you would push the button. um, if you can't transfer yourself, you would push the button, and someone would come. They would bring you an aisle chair, and they would take you to the bathroom. And then you would transfer from that chair to the bathroom, and you would push the button when you're done, and they'd come get you and take you back to your seat. So that is available. I will say that it doesn't always happen that way. So usually I would just, you know, get out of my seat and I would just kind of shuffle to the bathroom. It's really gross. The bathroom, the floor, floors are gross, but obviously you can use hand sanitizer. I don't know, when the last time you've been into an airplane bathroom, but they're about the size of a phone booth.
So narrow.
Yeah, it's so narrow. Even if you don't have a disability, it's just like this isn't access. So I will say that the dignifying travel experience of a person with a disability isn't very high. It's not a very dignifying experience. I've even testified in front of members of Congress about my experience. I would just tell them that it's not a dignifying experience. I don't know why those bathrooms are so small. Like is I don't know why there is no opportunity to store my chair on board. I don't know why the aisles can't be bigger. Like who makes these rules and why? I think it's very arbitrary, and there are things that could be done to make it more of a accessible and dignifying experience if they want it to be. So it's just that you have to strike the right chord.
Well, I feel like it's another example of when we have the right people at the table, change can occur because people have blind spots, but with somebody else's new voice, they can see it from another point of view when they haven't been able to before. Um, Thank you for answering that question.
Yeah, of course, of course. I'm so happy to. I think shedding a light on those types of things is always it's a priority for me. And the more people that hear those types of things, the more people understand. And understanding is, I don't know, that's the bridge to solving problems, really.
Well, I would like to make an all call to all designers right now to figure out a way to create a dignified lavatory experience on board airplanes for everybody.
Amen.
Universal design is the best design for everybody.
Amen. You're cooking there.
Is that in the works, do you think?
That's a great question. I don't know it to be. I do know that there's been different designs about how people can stay in their wheelchair during flights. That's not something that I don't even think I would take that opportunity if I could. I don't mind transferring. For me, that's not the issue. For me, it's like the space allotted for accessible equipment and the space in bathrooms is really a problem. It definitely has to change, and I just don't really know why it would stay the same. I think awareness is a big thing. I think also it's like status quo is less expensive. I think
Right,
so.
right.
That's one of those things as well. So it's like if you have this huge fleet of airplanes that are designed like this, so it means that you have to make all these different adjustments. I think that's one negative thing that people think about accessibility. Sometimes they feel like it's expensive to make accommodations is expensive. And I think they try to do the data on how many people it's affecting. And if it's not going to be the majority, I don't know if they so much care.
Well, I think we keep talking about it and we don't stop until we get people to care.
Amen. I love that. I love that.
Um, I have a few more questions for you. Do you have a little more time?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay, before we get to them, I want to let people know how to find you. So
Okay.
what is your website? What are your socials?
Yeah, so my website is flywithoutlimits.org. That's where you can find all the wonderful things that we're doing all year. Keep up with our programming, keep up with our updates. We try to update as much as possible. And yeah, I encourage you to come check us out. My socials, my personal social is Matt Scott Fly. It's Matt Scott underscore Fly, but if you just write Matt Scott Fly, you'll find me. Really easy to find. And the Fly Without Limits Instagram is Fly Without Limits Foundation.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Um, are you reading anything right now? And if so, what is it?
It's a great question. I don't know if you see these big these big lenses right here. I you and I spoke a couple of weeks ago and I was telling you how I love to read and I feel like my vision has like it's like limited my joy to do it. I will say this. I'm a big philosophy fan and um I listened to this podcast called Philosophize This and the person that does that podcast, his name's escaping me right now. So he does a Substack, and I've actually been reading a lot of his Substack on philosophy materials. And so instead of like reading like full on books, I've been like diving into his Substack, which has been really interesting. And actually, the entire Substack platform has been really interesting to me. I've been finding a lot of like accessibility, advocacy, things like that. I'm trying to be a stronger advocate every day for the disability community. So I'm liking to read people that are advocates in other communities and how they're reaching their community more effectively. So yeah, Substack has been my way of doing that, and I've been kind of tossing aside the traditional book because it's been a strain. My last 3 years, my vision has gotten so much worse.
Well, I love audiobooks for the same reason. You
Right,
know, if it's low light or small print, it's really difficult. Or frankly, I just get tired sitting and looking at a page.
right.
Um, Stephen West, I think, is the guy who
That's
has
him. Yeah,
philosophized
that's
this.
my guy. He has a fantastic podcast. I feel smarter and more in tune every time I listen to him. But I will say that his Substack is also like equally illuminating, and I'm just yeah, I'm a big fan of his work.
Very cool.
Hmm.
Um, this is a wide open question.
Okay.
What are you in the middle of?
Ooh, what am I in the middle of? I will say trying to think if I want to take like a positive spin on this or a just a realist spin on this. I will say this. I'm in the middle of a transition right now. I have stepped away from my corporate position. I was working at Visa. Um, I am doing Fly Without Limits full time and understanding. I'm in the middle of understanding whether that's a viable option for me to do full time or do I need to find traditional work? My heart tells me go and do Fly Without Limits. This is what lights you up. This is going to light the way for others. You are motivated, you are confident, you can do this, you are capable. And then sometimes life just has like these ways of just helping you remember that sometimes you've got to do things to be supportive of yourself. So right now I'm in the middle of figuring that out. I love what I do from an advocacy standpoint, and I'm trying to figure out, is there a way for me to do that and also support myself a little bit more?
You're on your hero's journey.
I like that. I like that. I was trying to find a way to think of like, I'm like, does this sound negative? I don't want it to sound negative, but it is. It's the realest answer I could give you. It's I'm in the middle of figuring it out, and there are times where I'm very excited about where that's leading me, and then there's sometimes it's a little bit more daunting, but it's
Mhm.
all part of the experience.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about an act of kindness that you have ever received that meant something to you? Could be big or small.
I'm gonna toss out the wheelchair donation because we talked about that at length. But I will say that was probably the most kind and the most impactful act of kindness that I can think of. I will say this: I had a mentor, and someone that I look up to this day. She was a manager that I had at Visa. Her name's Angelica Beard, and this is a woman who she became my mentor quite early on as I entered Visa, and she is the coolest corporate America person you could imagine. Like she shows up as herself. She's got these like really like vibrant, vivid outfits. She is life. Like when you show up to an office, I feel like sometimes, I think corporate America kind of gets this bad rep of like it's like a little bit sterile. Whereas like you meet a person like this, she's like a breath of fresh air, and she reminded me that being a corporate professional and being exactly who you are not antonyms. Like they can be synonymous, and you can show up as yourself, and you can be as vibrant and vivid and just anything that you want to be. And I want to speak about her act of kindness. She was quite senior, right? Like she's a VP at Visa, and I came in as a rotational associate later on. Ended up being an analyst. So our places on the on the scope are not anywhere the same, but she would just go out of her way to reach out to me. Always, she would always like check in with me, and she would do these things where she would say like, tell me about a win. Like she would always do it, and it was like I feel like she had this ability to know when I was I don't know, when I needed it, right? So she would always ask me, tell me about a win. It doesn't have to be in work. It doesn't have to be whatever it is. And she would just remind me all the time when I was at work, like, this was a win. This was a win. And she just boost my confidence. And I feel like when I was in corporate America, I needed those confidence boosts. It was a little bit hmm, different of a arena for me. And so her act of kindness was just stepping down from her. She's way up there, and just being a real human. And I love that about her. She's amazing.
What a great way to frame up your day. And first of all, calling attention to the wins, but then also having the opportunity to share it with somebody who wants to know.
That's right.
That's very cool.
Hmm.
Um, do you like to sing?
I'm a terrible singer. I am. I like music. I mean, who doesn't like music? I think if somebody told you they didn't like music, that'd be bad. But not much of a singer. I can tell you that.
What would your go-to song be if you were to sing, but you don't have to? Like
Would
karaoke or what, theoretically, what would you want it to be?
That's a good question. Um, in college, I used to sing. I used to sing "Friends in Low Places," just because it's like the juxtaposition of like who I am and like that song. It was just always funny for me because like I don't listen to any country music. Like that's just not my vibe. So I would always try to pick something that was just like way out there. But I actually like that song. I
It's
really
a,
like.
I've got friends in
Yeah,
low places. Isn't that Garth Brooks?
it is. It's Garth Brooks. Yeah, and he's a legend as well, right?
Yeah,
So, um,
absolutely.
whenever I would do karaoke with my friends, the goal wasn't to sing. The goal was to make people laugh, right? And
Okay.
so I would just try to pick something that was a little bit, out of my depth and just might make people laugh a little bit. So, putting on a country song would always throw them off a little bit.
There is no pressure here, but it is my quest to ask everybody to sing and to see how many people will sing. Sing us out, maybe sing us out for 10, 15 seconds or so.
I don't know that I have that in me today. I do I do want to check all of the other episodes and see who does do it. I will feel bad if everybody does it but me. But yeah, I don't know if I've got it in me today.
No pressure. I'm cheering you and fly without limits in every life you impact.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for having me. This has been amazing.
Come back for more conversations to connect. I love having these conversations so much, and I love sharing them with you. The current name of this podcast is VOREEN. All right. Have a good one.